Brian Swimme is the next speaker on behalf of the Epic of Evolution Society, a new interdisciplinary group that's focused on very much the same vision that Eric Chasen provided for us this morning, the whole story, not just a part of it, either the cosmological part of it or the biological part of it. So I guess I should really say all of our keynote speakers this morning the Epic of Evolution Society is concerned with that the whole compass of that. Appropriately, Brian is a professor of cosmology and philosophy, in philosophy, cosmology and consciousness program at the California Institute of Integral Studies in San Francisco. He's the president of the Epic of Evolution Society and is internationally renowned as a lecturer and professor and speaker on cosmology, and has published, is responsible for a video series, Canticle to the Cosmos, and is a co-author with Thomas Berry of The Universe Story. And then his other books include on his own, The Universe as a Green Dragon, a book I haven't read but I'm dying to, and The Hidden Heart of the Cosmos. So on behalf of the Epic of Evolution Society, it's my pleasure to introduce Brian Swimme.
I am talking about the question of whether or not science can serve as a source for wisdom, in particular ethics. The mainstream answer here is that it cannot, and I've thought a lot about why, because it does seem kind of odd that the people that would know the most about the universe would not be allowed to speak about ethics or wisdom. But historically, I think it's not hard to understand. When Copernicus came along and announced the Earth going around the sun, it was such a division between one's sensual knowledge of the universe and this more mathematical, scientific discovery that it was hard to incorporate. It was hard to assimilate. And I just sort of see it as the European society splitting into two tracks in a certain sense, where the scientists were given the role of discovering the utilitarian knowledge, and the religious authorities were given the role of tending to ultimate knowledge about the meaning of the human, say. Actually, that compromise was worked out, again, in part, I think, because the European society had a hard time assimilating what was discovered by science. And, it's a reduced role for scientists to simply focus on knowledge and not to speak of these larger concerns. However, if we had been around there and witnessed Giordano Bruno burned to the stake for espousing a certain scientific view of the universe, we might have gone along with it. However, the current situation, as I see it, is there's no need for this division between science and ultimate questions of ethics or of wisdom. So when somebody like Stephen Jay Gould, the recent president of the American Association for the Advancement of Science, and everyone knows him as the pontiff of paleontology, but when he comes out and says that he's for having these two domains separate, my feeling is that it's gotten to a point where the prisoners no longer need the jailers. We impose this upon ourselves, restricting the range of our own thinking. Now, there was a great development that took place in 1996 when the Vatican came out and announced that evolution is real. This was 137 years after Darwin's book, but I still regard this as a really quick move. Compared to tectonic plates, I mean, this is immediate. And so I was absolutely thrilled. I thought, this is going to be a major change in the nature of the planet, because suddenly evolution is taken as real, as opposed to think of it as a mere hypothesis. But then when I examine the document more carefully, the Pope and his team got really close, but then they backed away. Evolution is real up until you get to the human. And then when you get to the human, the soul is implanted by God at birth. And I thought, they were so close. You see, once again, there was a statement coming from on high. Scientists, you can handle rivers, and you can handle stars, and you can handle the earth, you can handle the universe as a whole, but, when it comes to the human, and what it means to be good, and what it means to be ethical, you have to back off. This is our domain. Now, so we have the situation where the theologians are, at least some of them are insisting that they're in charge of that question. We have the situation where the scientists are happy with this and even proclaiming there's a way to go. And so you're looking around for wisdom concerning the planet. I mean, if you ask for wisdom from theologians, you get a lot of discussion about God. It may be really important, but our focus here has to be the planet. And so then if you go to you think, okay, tried the theologians, the scientists don't want to speak to this directly, then what about the philosophers? I just want to make sure that if there's somebody left in the room I haven't offended, this is my opportunity to complete that. The philosophers, when you go to the philosophers, are supposed to be about wisdom. Maybe they can really help us out here. The last World Congress of Philosophy took place in Boston in 1998. And at the end of it, so they assembled all the great philosophers of our time up on stage. And at the end of it, a journalist asked, what are the major contributions of philosophy in the 20th century? That's a great question. And so they went to Quine first. They thought about it for a second. He said, I'll pass. And they had an opportunity. And then they went to the next person, and she said, I'd like to discuss the idea of contribution. That's an interesting word. And so at the end, they had utterly nothing to say. Now, so, when I think about all this, I'm always trying to think of it in terms of the major activity taking place in the world today, and that is the termination of the Cenozoic era. So we have a human civilization that's ending 65 million years, a 65 million year old biological era. This was, at least among biologists now, there's a recent poll, over 70% of them agreed that's what's taking place. So it's odd that the people that know the most about life and the most about the planet are reluctant to speak to this question of the role of the human, the larger dimension of what it means to be human. So, but in this vacuum of wisdom, as long as we remain silent, we are simply allowing the status quo to continue. And as Professor Rappaport said, the situation right now is that we have a move to universal competition. Universal competition in a free market system is simply going to deepen the destruction of the Cenozoic. We're already destroying 30,000 species a year. Unbridled competition, what would that grow to? So, the basic orientation I'm taking is this, that the human species needs guidance. We need a transgenetic guidance. We can't rely upon our genes the way other species can. And we've always needed the transgenetic guidance. And if we don't have, right now, that guidance is coming from, in one word, economism. In Rappaport's phrase, it's endless competition, but it's economism where the corporate entities are vying with one another, and the reaction to that, which is fundamentalism. So these ethnic hostilities that are recoiling from that. There must be something more to existence than just McDonald's. And so that book, McDonald's versus Jihad, that's the great question before us. Isn't it possible we could provide something different? And the suggestion here is that science does have a role to play in the creation of a planetary wisdom. This is really in the lineage of Julian Huxley, as well as E.O. Wilson today, and then Eric Chasen, who we heard speak this morning, and David Loy and his associates who are speaking this evening. And it's based around the idea that we have a powerful new scientific philosophy. Already the narrative of the birth of the universe and its development up to our time, already that is implicitly a world philosophy because it's taught in all cultures of the planet, around every continent. But what's waiting, I think, is for us to draw out the wisdom dimension of that story itself. I'm thinking again of the way Professor Rappaport placed ourselves in this challenge. The challenge is one now of, before us, is whether we move towards further universal competition or if we move towards the challenge of integration. I take it that most of us here would regard the move towards integration as the way in which we would want to move, even if the main current of our society is going the other direction. Now, a lot of things could be said, and we're going to have a session tomorrow night organized by Charlene Spretnak, reflect on some of these questions, but I just wanted to end with perhaps 3 suggestions of the way in which the story of cosmic evolution has implicit in it wisdom dimensions. The first is this. The narrative provides a basic guidance. At the heart of Eric Chasen's theory is that the universe is complexifying. We didn't have this knowledge even several decades ago, but now we have this empirically verified understanding of the way in which the universe is complexifying. It's not moving to any particular form. It's simply growing ever more complex and diverse. Well, in this sense, then, the fundamental law of the universe is complexification, so that to be human in the middle of this is to create a civilization that refuses to eliminate the complexity. So it is to have constructed a culture, to have constructed an economic system that is eliminating 30,000 species a year is a system that's working against the grain of the universe. It might work for a certain period of time, but eventually there is a demand for our alignment with the fundamental activities of the Earth community and of the universe as a whole. So the challenge then is, with this guidance from this understanding of cosmic evolution, how do we invent a civilization that not only refuses to destroy diversity, but actually enhances it? So moves in the direction of complexification. A second would be this. This new story of science provides a profound sense of community. It's unlike any sense of community that I have seen in other stories. Every other story I've looked at in different cultures has a limited sense of community. Necessarily so, because when those stories were created, they regarded themselves as the whole world. So that you have, they'll put up a castle, and they'll call this the center of the universe, and the ruler will be in charge of the entire universe, that type of language. Well, to the extent of their knowledge, that was the whole. And the story that organized that civilization was taken to be a universal story. But now we have a story that encompasses all of those, so those stories become not useless, but they become relativized within a larger story. Our story provides a way of understanding our genetic relatedness. We all derive from a single ancestor. It isn't poetry, it isn't dream, it isn't fantasy to say that we're all cousins. All of us, all species. And so, as Professor Rappaport was talking about the move into integration, he was saying there's different ways. It can be fear-based, it can be self-interest, but the most powerful from his point of view is one that's based on love or on compassion or care, as you would find in a particular family. We're talking about children. Well, in a real sense then, this story provides us a way of seeing that each of us is a family member of a larger community. And not only the animals and the plants, but also the inanimate components of the planet. The new story provides a profound sense of community. And third would be the way in which, here's an implication for the human community coming from the story that's especially important in our time. It provides a profound sense of confidence in the midst of this challenge. And we saw this especially this morning with Professor Satmari's discussion of these significant transition moments. So we live in a reality that has the power of actually bringing together molecules into a cell. That's a major challenge of integration. Or bringing together disparate creatures into the emergence of a eukaryotic organism. A major achievement. So that as we reflect upon the story, we start to get a sense that we come in a lineage of amazing success. And so our current challenge of integrating the human groups, of integrating the various species, of integrating all the components of the planet into a vibrant Earth community is one that we as a universe, we as an Earth community have carried out in the past. And so, in a certain sense, we can move forward with this challenge with a sense of confidence. Thank you very much.